In the city, on a quiet night, you can hear us, set ourselves alight. Oh, let me transcend and be a flicker in your eyes. Wait for the spark. Please set me on fire. Welcome along to the Guy and Harley podcast. My name is Harley Neville.
And I'm Guy Pigden. And who was that?
That is a brand new song by my favourite band, my long-time favourite band. Do you know who that is?
Avenged Sevenfold.
Not a terrible guess. I mean, I'm not huge on Avenged Sevenfold, but I don't mind them.
Prince Ali.
Prince Ali, that poet. The poet Prince Ali.
No, of course we're talking about Rage Against the Machine.
No.
Rise Against.
No, I mean, all of these are pretty good bands.
I've forgotten their name now.
But you have forgotten the name.
But
of
I
my
do know
favourite
that the lead singer who decided to become a woman.
No, no.
Correct? No?
No, you're thinking of Against Me or
maybe what that was
one
Against
of
Me.
those. Yeah, one of those. But that was never one of my favourite bands. Liam Hegarty will know who it was, whose singer turned in punk band, whose lead singer is trans now. Born male but is now female, but is still the lead singer of the punk band. It could have been Against Me. If it was not Against Me, it was something like that. But no, Enter Shikari.
Oh,
Enter Shikari. They've got
on the tip of my tongue.
They've got a new album coming out next month.
Enter Shakira.
Or
on the tip of my tongue.
Yeah. They've got.
I actually really thought it was the other one, Rise Against. Actually,
Rise Against.
I think that. Yeah, I didn't. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Bring Me the Horizon. I'm surprised you didn't maybe mention them.
I thought it was the name of a. Yeah. I could have. Yeah. I would have gone.
Yeah. So
Millencolin. Of course.
Millencolin. Yeah. It's a classic. But yeah, so they have got a new album coming out in April, and that's very exciting for me because they haven't put out an album in a few years, and this was their new single from the new album, and I like it. It's called Please Set Me on Fire, and it's pretty good actually. Good music video as well. It's a one-shot music video, and it's nice. It's good, simple but entertaining.
Does anyone get set on fire?
Actually, no. You'd think that would be something you'd do in a one-shot music video about a song called Please Set Me on Fire, but sadly, no, that did not happen.
Yeah, well, that's probably a good thing.
Yeah.
So we've got the painting back here.
Yep.
What do you call this one?
So that painting took me this is why we are a week late again, is because it took me a long time to finish this painting. That painting is called Wet Bush. I call that one Wet Bush.
Very good.
So
very good.
Yeah, that's Wet Bush. We've got Girl with a Pearl Necklace, Wet Bush.
And Any Port in a Storm.
Any Port in a Storm. Yeah.
And this one's Wet Bush.
Yeah. So.
Wet Bush, a river runs through it.
Yep. There you go. So good. Welcome along to the show. What's been going on, Guy?
Well, we should probably mention that we live in Auckland, and Auckland has just seen the most amount of rainfall in a single, I guess, day in recorded history.
Yep, ever. And not just a little bit more water than the highest ever recorded, nearly half again. So the record was something like 160 millimeters in a set amount of time, and now it was like 240 millimeters in a set amount of time or something. So it was like half again. It didn't just beat the previous, record. It did it again by 50%, beat it by 50%. And it's like, well, there you go. There it is, the evidence of climate change.
Well,
who's going to deny it? How can you deny it when you're looking it in the face?
Old mate Hipkins has come out and said it is a result of climate change.
Exactly. Chris Hipkins. So, I mean, that's another thing we haven't spoken about.
No.
Is our beloved Jacinda Ardern has...
Auntie Cindy.
She has stepped down as the Prime Minister of New Zealand. Again, international news, I assume. So obviously very sad, and standing up in her place is Chris Hipkins. I don't actually feel too bad about that, though. I feel like Chris Hipkins could stand a chance because he was the health minister and he was there throughout a lot of the COVID stuff, but he wasn't, the face of it. He wasn't Jacinda, but he was there. He proved himself.
Mild-mannered Chris Hipkins.
Mild-mannered Chris Hipkins. And also, he is a white male, which means that the more conservative or,
sexist amongst New Zealanders.
Yeah, might be happy with that. But also, like, as in, there are people who might choose to vote National who's got a white male leader because that's the type of thing they're interested in and they're more kind of conservative type, but that normally they would vote for Labour, but they don't because it's run by a Sheila. So maybe though, by having Chris Hipkins in there, it's like, okay, cool. So you've kind of got that white male loving audience who might vote that otherwise might have voted for National.
Well, it would have
if it had been a woman.
Would have lost a few voters saying that it was due to climate change.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
That would have sent a few people into a rage.
Maybe,
It's just bad weather that we've never had on record in the history of our recording of weather. It's never happened, but it's just bad weather. Also, it's kind of because actually there's been obviously a lot of these extreme weather events, I guess, over the last 3, maybe 5 years, like really more extreme weather events than there has been in the recorded history of weather. Okay. And, one of the things is like a lot of people are sort of like, oh, weather just goes in cycles and it's the moon and the stars and, this has just been happening since the dawn of time and all this other horse shit. And it's like, cool. Well, if it really was that, then do you think that all the infrastructures we created would have accommodated for that? Like as in, essentially what happened is we had all this rain and I'm sure a lot of people are listening like, cool, bro, cool story, bro. It rained a lot in your city. And it's like, well, no, it didn't. I mean, yes, it did. But what that caused was essentially mass flooding in multiple areas of the city, many of which were underwater, and a complete sort of, obviously disruption, but a complete sort of devastation of certain areas and certain houses. And people being up to their several feet. And also it's like
4 people died.
Also, it's like people talk about, it's like, oh, cool. Well, that will dry out. And it's like, well, no, it actually won't, because that water, and I actually seen some hilarious clips of people swimming in it and doing dumb stuff. And it's like, you do realize that
that's poo water.
That's sewage water. That's very dirty water.
You're swimming in my poop.
Essentially what has happened is, all the storm drains have flooded, which has caused the water to come back up those storm drains, but also all the sewage drains, and then for them to mix and mingle and come back out into these things. So, it's not just like, a lot of these houses, it's not just, okay, they got really, really wet. Okay, that's a problem in itself, when their bottom floor was submerged. That's a problem. But the real problem is then after that sewage water, then sort of just dampening and festering and sort of just smelling unlivable going forward.
Reminds me of a lot of the houses that I've lived in.
Well, yeah, it does. It was like we had a sewage problem. We had this problem in Dunedin.
And also my one in Wellington as well.
Yeah, with our flat. And essentially the sewage came back up into our backyard on multiple occasions because, the water got blocked up. And it just basically erupted sewage all across our backyard. And obviously the sewage got cleaned up, but the smell never really went away. And that was outside our house. That was just next to our house. So when you went into the backyard, you'd be like, smells like that sewage that erupted from here several months ago.
On multiple occasions, though. It did it on multiple occasions.
Yeah, it was, and so people are having these...
And we had to let the dogs out to pee and poo out there.
Yeah, so there's this sort of thing of our Auckland's infrastructure and drainage could not handle this. And because it's never, ever happened before, And so it's as bad as it's ever been. And people are having, and now we're also talking about not just the sewage smell in people's homes and, repairing and cleaning carpets and all that sort of thing, which again is now impossible to do because
everybody's booked.
Everyone
for the next 6
booked
months.
up, according to our friend Right Wing Richard, who is a property manager, so he knows about these sort of things. So essentially, like if this were to happen again tomorrow, you couldn't clean your carpet. And I bet you too, if you go out and look at a bunch of, like if you were to go out to buy a carpet cleaner, it's like, sorry, we've sold out of all those and we're all booked up with the ones that we've sold.
What I
for the
did,
next lots.
I actually bought 10 carpet cleaners and I'm selling them to people for 100% markup because that's the kind of person I am.
It's not a bad racket to exploit the
vulnerable,
the poor and vulnerable.
Yeah.
When they desperate.
Yeah. Well, that's how you make money, mate. It's business. Business. Business.
The Elon Musk way.
It's not the Elon Musk way. He's changing the way you do business. It is the traditional way.
So there was the flooding, and we don't actually. There's also more rain forecast, more heavy rain forecast for Wednesday. And essentially, and it also rained last night, but essentially also, Auckland is now at a tipping point where normal, regular rain that it could handle, it can't handle because it's still recovering and all those storm drains and all that stuff is going down or still blocked from the mass flooding. So, it could happen all over again.
Well,
it's definitely climate change, and we better just get used to this.
Just get used to it or make changes to our diet and lifestyle. So our house was all good, luckily. The studio's all good. No water came in here. So we were lucky enough to live up on a hill. But I was at work when it happened, and I was working in a TV control rooms of a live broadcast TV show, and water just all of a sudden started coming underneath the door into the control room, which was obviously quite a surprise because that's the type of place where it's like you're really careful with drinks in there, for example. You don't walk around with like a open cup too often, or if you have a coffee, you sort of keep it back away from all the electronics. And then here we are, there's just water just flowing in, and we're like, oh, okay, and like there was electrical shit all over the ground, some of which I moved out of the way before the water got to it. Basically outside my work it was about waist height, and cars were literally floating away down the street. And this is a big main street in Auckland. It's not like some random little place, like a big main street, cars bobbing on by. The drains, you could see them flowing upwards, like they're so heavy that the manholes, which are large people holes, I think they call them nowadays. The people holes that you climb in and out of, these large steel heavy things, were like getting pushed out of the way, and the water's flowing up. And so that was about where I was, and we mopped the floor. So we blocked the doors as best we could, but there was still water coming in. And then we mopped as best we could, but the water was coming in faster than we could mop it, even though we'd blocked the doors. And then eventually it receded, and we managed to, and then we had to start brooming it out using a broom. So I was doing that all the way up until the very minute that my shift finished, and then I walked out the door because I'm a freelancer. So, but I did my bit during my shift.
Yeah, so I know a few people that are, been seriously affected by the flood, and so I just feel very bad for them because it's not just, it's just so many things, but it's like, okay, cool. Your downstairs smells like a sewer, and that is not going to change. That is unchangeable. Now you have you've got a bond. This is probably a house you don't own, and you're in a contract for the next 6 months in the sewer house. Now, obviously, you're almost hoping that whoever comes along and judges it uninhabitable,
and then you get the red sticker or something.
Yeah, and then you can leave and find another place.
Get out of your contract and get your bond back, hopefully.
But it does, essentially, we're going to see a huge amount of displaced people from that happening, which means that rent's going to go up as well.
Because there's less houses, right?
Because there's more demand. So, unfortunately, our landlord is probably rubbing it. If one of his many properties hasn't been affected, he's probably rubbing his hands together in glee, thinking about how much he can charge us.
Yeah, how he's going to put the rent up.
Yeah. So we'll see about that. But it's just not good for anyone. Mass flooding is not good for anyone. Heard it here first. Hot take.
Hot take. A few shout outs here. We've got Sam Wheeler. Sam Wheeler's in the comments. He says, time to strategize a new vision for future generations where corporate interests are no longer the primary focus of our leaders. It's Waterworld, y'all. We're saturated. Yep. So the corporate interests are no longer the primary focus of our leaders. Yep, it's true. Got to do that. And then the other thing he said was, this is referring to last week. Great podcast, dudes. I missed it live, but just caught up. Awesome older feedback from the Netflix filmmaker. Just keep moving. Just keep making great films and showing them to the right people at the right time. Oh, that's the secret, I think. There is a lot of luck involved in that and a lot of grind in the meantime. So, yep, shout out to Sam. Also, shout outs to Nick Zaladi, Jason Coombs, Richard Lambeth, who all chimed in on our Tesla conversation. The one that you said was boring, but that did actually evoke quite a lot of conversation from the listeners.
Yep.
And that's it. I did notice that Watch Me, which is where our show Harrow was funded and put up on this platform called Watch Me. Yeah, well, Watch Me's gone now. I checked it. Watch Me is completely gone, and so is Harrow. So is our show.
Oh, shit.
It's all gone. It's not there anymore. It's no longer available online as a web series. Did you want that as a web series? Because I think we never downloaded it, I don't think. Or maybe, I'm not sure if I have it.
I'll have the masters.
So. Right, yeah. It's gone.
I was more thinking, can we just utilize that footage now?
Well, I don't see why not. Who's going to notice? But what will we even do with it?
Well, it'll just become part of the anthology.
Yeah.
That's
right, I see. As in, so we can just
no one's going to come and tap us on the shoulder.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the,
to be honest, I think it'll be fine.
That is always the beauty, is when you outlast the people that you owe some degree of intellectual property to. They go out of business. They all go out of business after making one of our things, you see. Yeah. But then we're still here.
We're still here. We still have that IP.
So that's always good. That's always good.
Speaking of Tesla, going back to that, if the listeners had used the referral links down below and signed up for Stake or Sharesies within the last month, they would now be making money. It's gone up 65%. Tesla has gone up 65% since the beginning of January. So if you bought $100 worth at the beginning of January, it's now worth $165.
It's a great return.
It's not a bad return.
I'd be selling.
No, not me. I'm buying. I'm still buying. I'm accruing. Accumulating.
Yeah, it's a pretty good markup, but we'll see. We'll see
if this buys me a mansion or not. What else you got?
Well, I have been experimenting with, so we talked a little bit about artificial intelligence and Chat GPT.
Yep.
And I've now started experimenting with Midjourney. So Midjourney is another one, but it creates art. So it steals art. It steals art from all the places. So Chat GPT doesn't really, I don't think it's quite the same thing. Chat GPT is kind of creating essentially words, and it's making up words, and maybe it's taking a bunch of words from everywhere, but that doesn't really matter, because that's
how words work.
Exactly. That's how all sentences are created everywhere. So you can't really say, well, it stole my phraseology, because truthfully, you stole that.
To be or not to be?
You stole that from somewhere. And so there's, I don't think the whole I guess I don't agree with the whole idea that morally Chat GPT is wrong. Obviously, stealing from artists is completely different, right? Just stealing their images and kind of putting them in a blender, which is essentially what they do, is you're essentially, you can take photos, or you can take art, or you can take both. You can kind of put it in and then go, do this. Try and do this to it. Make this from that. And it will kind of create a wholly original piece from that. And obviously, that's where you get stuff with the weird 50 hands and all that sort of thing, and
50 fingers
or 8 fingers. Really.
Yeah,
so it's normally between It's just normally more than 5.
Hands are really hard to draw, and obviously even for AI.
AI
Even
struggles
for
with
AI.
hands. I can't remember that. I can't remember. It was something to do with how it like absorbs the information of hands. It just can't get. There's too much variation in it for it to kind of get a handle on the fact that there's only 5 of them.
Yeah.
So anyway, I've been playing about with that because I'm trying to create some, which is what I said it would be good for, which is to create kind of, what do you call them? I guess EPKs, mood boards, sort of, director's visions for projects. So like to me, like one of the kind of most boring parts of making a film is trying to raise money for the film, but it's also trying to show people that like what you visualize is very dull in terms of like, cool, well, okay, we're doing a found footage horror film. So let me go and look up found footage horror imagery and pick some that I like. There you go. That's what we imagine ours being like. It's quite a arbitrary thing. It doesn't, and also I just feel like it really ignores the filmmaking process, which is basically like, oh, you wanted to do all those things? Sorry, you can't do them because of the time of day, the people thing, the prop didn't turn up, we're losing the light, the location looks completely different, it's too dangerous to walk in the river. All these things kind of affect your look and in a way that it's very hard to anticipate before you're thinking of those problems and solving them on the day when you're there. And so you can have some really epic looking storyboards and mood reels and vision boards, but they fundamentally often amount to jack shit when you actually get to it. You know, although obviously they can be helpful in getting across a tone or something to help your, collaborators imagine what it's going to be. But just generally, it's all just a bit pie in the sky for me in terms of like, what is the reality of that going to really be? But again, if you're trying to sell something, you want to just give people a few touchstones to what they can imagine. And so I've been just chucking I've used up my free 25 images, chucking in a bunch of different ideas into Midjourney
for a found footage project.
For what found footage project that we're sort of developing at the moment, and being like, okay, so what can it do with this? How can you take these images and like make them something different? And it's real hit and miss. Like sometimes it's amazing.
Are you going to pay?
I might just to get I might pay for a month. I don't think I'd pay for a year because I don't have enough. Like I basically, you need it every time you need a pitch deck. That's what I was looking the word for, pitch deck. Every time you need a pitch deck for something and you want to have a bunch of visuals to pop up and go, so think about this. It's just funny because I imagine some of these old ones and you have all this stuff and maybe you've edited together a mood reel and all that sort of thing. And then they watch the film and they go, what?
This is nothing.
You didn't do any of those things. I was like, yeah, sorry, they were too difficult. or whatever.
We just did this previs thing to get the money, really.
Yeah, exactly. I was just trying to help.
Sorry for misleading you.
I would say, I'm really sorry that your imagination is so shit that you couldn't just think of it off the page. It was all there. But now, you're complaining that my scarecrow looks different. I'm sorry, I can't do anything about that. I've got $200 to make the scarecrow.
It does help with things like setting the color color palette and the general kind of mood and vibe.
Yeah. Although I do think so, and I have been enjoying it, and I was really wowed by some of the results. But also, the more you do it, again, kind of like Chat GPT, the more you see the patterns emerging of okay, when you say Queenstown, New Zealand, or you say mountains and forests, it kind of does this each time, and it's hard to get it to create more variations. I know that Sam has experimented a lot with Midjourney, so maybe he's got some tips of some things that I can input.
5150 listener Sam Wheeler, who this morning was generating images of Jesus fighting dinosaurs using Midjourney. So I'm guessing he's paid for it.
Yeah, I'm sure he has. So maybe you can send me his login. and B, but more importantly, maybe you can give me some tips. So I just want to extract, like a series of 10 images that I feel like I can use as part of this. I think I've got maybe 2 at the moment that I'm sort of happy with. But it also does take quite a long time, because essentially you'll find 1 image or 2 images, you'll give it some prompts, and then you'll put it in, and then it'll do its thing, and then it'll give you some options. And then you have to go, okay, do you want to alter those options, or do you want to start again? And this process can sort of go on, and it can kind of get it wrong again and again and again. So I haven't sort of really found a good thing, but I'm very much a complete novice. I only started it, joined the Discord last night, and had to play around, and I am happy that I did get some really cool stuff. But also the other problem is with so obviously what they don't want in Midjourney, or any of these AI ones, is they don't want you making essentially celebrity porn.
Right, yeah.
They don't want you essentially...
obvious place that
yeah, exactly.
you would go.
That's where people, deviant minds go. So essentially, you take a photo of you, you take a photo of or you take a photo from celebrity of some celebrity on thing, and then you go, her, but naked, plus me, bent over, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And then and AI goes, sweet. And you go, sweet, thank you for this, this thing. And so obviously they've sort of gotten away, so they're you can't kind of put in any sexual things, but they're also the same deal with violence, which is a bit of a problem for horror films. So they're in fact, you there's for instance, you can't use the word disturbing. I also unfortunately couldn't use the word MILF, but I didn't say MILF, I said Milford track. And it was sorry, all words with MILF in it are banned. Yeah. And I was like, oh man.
That literally makes no sense.
Yeah. And so, there are definitely limitations, and especially when you were thinking about a horror, you want to say horror, and it doesn't like it if you say horror, and you want to have people in, scary situations. It doesn't really want to put anyone in scary situations. But the most interesting things to me is in the same way that I saw myself when I did this just for myself on another one, and I saw it sort of used features of Judd Nelson from The Breakfast Club on my face, and how it used, who was it? There's another actor. Oh man, he's in all the Wes Anderson films. Jason someone. I can't remember it now. But anyway, it used his eyebrows and nose a lot of the time to replace mine. Right. And so in this one, I put in someone holding a camcorder, in the dark. And then I, put in a bunch of prompts, and it sort of redid it. It gave her a hoodie, and it changed the camcorder to a torch. But then one of the images was her turned in a pose with a cap on and a jacket, which is this iconic The Last of Us cover. Of the girl, Ellie. And it used that, it literally just swapped out the face and put that there. And it's that's copyright infringement. Where they're taking that image from, and it's the most blatant copyright infringement you could possibly imagine. Yeah. So there's a bit of that as well. Yeah. But it's all fascinating stuff, and it is helpful because it's you got 2 options. You can be someone like James Cameron in his youth, where he used to and Ridley Scott used to do all this artwork to go, this is what I imagine for the film. Obviously, that's the best way to do it, but how many months you got to spend on that? Or you can use something like this, or you can just, essentially, you are doing the same thing when you're taking images from another movie and saying, this is what I imagine. Yeah.
It's the same thing.
It's just as infringy, really. I mean, now, obviously, these are not designed to be shared except to provide this for this pitch deck. So it's not like they're going to go out. But I was like, damn, that would make it quite a, one of the ones that it generated. I was like, shit, that's a pretty good poster, actually, for this film.
Well, why don't you just be change it so she doesn't have the hat and the jacket, and it's just kind of slightly less obvious. This one make it a swan dry jersey to make it more Kiwi. Yeah, a swan dry jacket.
Well, that's the problem. It definitely goes a bit wonky on like if you go to Kiwi with it,
Right.
because it doesn't. I don't
Doesn't have
think
the research base.
I don't
It doesn't have the
I
knowledge, the
don't
data.
think so. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like Milford. What the fuck is Milford?
yeah.
There are no words in the world that start with MILF.
Yeah.
Therefore,
It's
Milford
MILF.
doesn't exist. Therefore, you must be talking about mums I'd like to fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I showed my girlfriend, she who shall be named, Chat GPT the other day,
Yep.
and we just mucked around with it. And I showed her all the different ways that I sort of found it to be quite useful and what different things it can do. And I sort of pointed out that her as English is her second language, that she might find it quite useful for things like sending emails.
Yeah.
Because you can put in the information that you want to put in and then get it to write it for you. Well, she did that today immediately prior to the show. She did it for a job. She's applying for a job, and so she needed to tell them what days she was available and all that type of thing. So she went and put it all together, just the dates and sort of the general outline of the email, then put it into Chat GPT. It spat out something which was very polite and, why she wants to do this job and all that type of thing, and added in a bunch of extra information, all in very excellent English. So, yeah, this is a game changer. For anybody out there who's advertising for employees and stuff like that, where they have to write a cover letter or anything like that, can't believe them anymore. You cannot believe them anymore because it's all just the internet now.
Well, it's also like it really is a problem for copywriters if that was your bread and butter.
Those jobs are gone now. Copywriting, all that type of thing. Like if you can use Chat GPT, you don't need to pay somebody to do it.
Not really.
Yeah, I was thinking much the same thing. And I was actually looking at a job. I saw a job. The deadline for this job application is actually today. It's producing a podcast for RNZ, Radio New Zealand, which is combined with TVNZ now, and so it's producing a podcast. It was a kids podcast aimed at sort of 8 to 14-year-olds, and you had to write a short show every week about a current affair that was happening at this time.
Yeah.
So, for example, they probably would have done one about Jacinda Ardern resigning, but the idea is to do it in a way that it's interesting and fun and entertaining and informative for people who are between 8 and 14, so using appropriate language for that type of thing. So I was like, well, look, I don't give a shit about 8 to 14-year-olds. I don't really want to write, things for 8 to 14-year-olds specifically. But I was like, hypothetically speaking, if I were to apply for this job, if I were just to use Chat GPT, what would happen? So I went to Chat GPT and I just put in all the information and it just goes and wrote me a script, a perfect script for the podcast. I then converted it into a script for like a short filmed, not a short film, like a video, video version. And yeah, it was all there. It took, a few minutes, and it was all there. It was all written. It was all ready to rock. And it was just as good, if not better, than how I would have written it if I had sat down and taken all that time to do it. And I was like, well, I guess I should apply for that job then, just get ChatGPT to do all the work every week,
Yeah. Yeah. It's a great, even if you were, I feel like it's like when you're strapped for ideas, it's like, there you go.
Yeah. It can be a prompt, a great prompt.
Yeah. I find what it's actually really good at is rewriting as opposed to writing. Like, again, when it writes stuff, it tends to be a bit generic and a bit like, I don't know, like you can kind of see it's written by it reads robotically. It's not that you would necessarily say it was bad or anything. It just reads robotically because, it's
written by a robot.
And so, but I feel like when you put in the information, like whether it's like you write a messy outline and you go tidy this up, make it sound dynamic and exciting, do this and do that, and keep it to 2 paragraphs, then that's when it really shines. So, for writers, it's don't abandon hope, because I think that it's like you still got to come up with the concept and all that, and then you just go. For instance, I've been working with Imi, my writing partner, and we've been working on a sort of a pitch for a 3D animated show for 5150 listener Bernie, and so we wrote all the outlines for the script unassisted by ChatGPT, and then we're like, but now we want to create that pitch deck format. So please put these messy outlines into a more concise, that's shorter, that cuts out, because, we're putting in all the plot points, but you can't have all the plot points in a little episode outline. Have at it. and it was pretty good. And so then we just rewrite that. But yeah, it's pretty interesting times. I'm just waiting for because Midjourney does cost money now. And Chat GPT is surely literally 1 or 2 days away from the corporate merger of Microsoft buying it or whoever buying it, or fully buying it, and it being like Chat GPT, subscribe for $40 US a month.
Yeah.
And I'd say it's just going to be like an overnight $1 billion entity.
Yeah, well, because there'll be a lot of people out there doing exactly what we just talked about, of just going cool, actually, this is a really valuable work tool. $40 a month, and I can not have to write these skits every week, or these scripts or whatever it is.
Yeah,
sounds like a pretty good deal. On the live stream, Johanna Secua says that Chat GPT is marvelous. And Nocturnal, aka Sam, says that he used it to set up a schedule, which worked, and that he also used, he prefers stable diffusion instead of what was it called?
Midjourney.
Instead of Midjourney, he prefers stable diffusion because Midjourney goes too far off the rails compared to the original images.
It really does.
And also, this might be the more important thing for your porn ambitions, Guy, is that it can turn off the not safe for work filters for nudity and specific words on stable diffusion. So you can really put, you put in an image of yourself having sex with a celebrity, like you say.
Natalie Portman, obviously.
With Katie Holmes watching. Yeah.
Well, that was the weird part. So for me, with Midjourney, that was the frustrating part, is sometimes it would do a really good job, but sometimes I found it went further away when you put in an image.
Right, yeah.
Where, and it's so for instance, I put in a couple taking a selfie, and I was like, couple taking a selfie, there's a hunter standing in the background, we can't see his face, lurking in the shadows sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I tried many variations of that, and it just would not put, it would make one of them a hunter. Mm-hmm. It would give one of them a hooded jacket, but it would just not put a third person, even when I said the third person or whatever, it's just sometimes it just kind of goes, Nah, I think maybe this instead.
Yeah.
And it's
maybe you've got to do it separately. Maybe you've got to do the hunter as one character, one project, and then you've got to import that image and put it into...
I tried that as well.
Yeah,
it didn't really do it. Nah. But yeah, I'm interested in still experimenting. Like I said, I think I got 2 or 3 really good images from it that will wind up, I'm sure, in the director's vision. But it is just a bit time consuming, but it is just also frustrating because you want it to be really, really, really smart, and it's kind of just, it's crazy. It's like a wild, crazy artist that you go, hey, mate, like a wild, crazy street artist.
Yeah, you're like, can
you
I
just don't know what
commission
you're
you to
gonna
do
get.
this?
You're like, here's a photo. I want you to do something with this. And then he's like, cool.
Yeah.
And then he turns around and it's like, I mean, that's crazy, but it's not exactly what I imagined.
Yeah.
Midjourney is the crazy street artist of AI.
Well, street artists are a thing of the past now. We don't need them anymore. We also don't need writers, copywriters, spell checkers, anything like that. Any of those types of things that involve basic art or basic writing, don't need them. They're gone. So if that's your job, I suggest you start looking for a new one.
Well,
they need lots of carpet cleaners at the moment in Auckland. Yeah, they do need a lot of carpet cleaners
here in Auckland.
Builders, carpet cleaners.
Carpet cleaning's the way to go right now.
Yeah, plumbers and other types of, and just general cleaners as well.
If you wanted to start a business right now in Auckland, probably carpet cleaning.
Yeah.
This year.
Yeah.
For this year.
Yeah.
Would be incredibly lucrative.
And if you want to get into it, I'll sell you a carpet cleaning machine for only 100% markup. I've got one. Slide into my DMs. I've got 10. Cleaned out Bunnings. Yeah. So, speaking of film projects, there is talk of another short film project of us doing it in May. Have you reread the script that I sent you? Yeah. And are you thinking of some... So this one's called Take the Pain, and it's not written by us. It's written by Guy, 5150 listener, Guy McDowell. Shout out to Guy. And so hopefully we're going to make that in May. That's currently the penciled in date. I've looked at so some of the key props are things like a big chest. I went and I checked the First Scene website, a place where you can hire them. They've got a big chest. I was like, that's good. And it's only $54 a day. I was like, that's even better. I was like, great. We could hire that for a week and away you go. You don't even need it for a week. So that's there. The director of photography, I've chatted to him. Shout out to Isaac Newcomb. Doesn't listen, but shout out.
Never listens,
but shout out to him, Isaac. And he's keen as beans, and he's like, cool, let's just get started. Yeah, let's do it tomorrow. Let's do the preemptive pickups, whenever we need to.
Yeah.
So that's there. I've talked to Tanya Wiley, production manager. Shout out to Tanya, who does listen to the show occasionally. And she's on board. She's keen. We're having a meeting next week in person about it. So it's all, and we've got the location. So it's all kind of coming together.
We've got the actors.
We've got the actors.
Oh, we got most of them.
Well, if you and I act in it, which I do hope we do, then we've got the actors, we've got the location, we've got the camera operator and all the gear, or the director of photography and all the gear. We've got the production manager. The script breakdown has already been done. All we really need now is a few $1,000s, which you and I will inevitably have to put in, unless, of course, the listeners want to chip in. If you want to chip in, there's a link down below. It says "Buy me a coffee" or "Buy me a beer." Maybe click on that, and you can make a one-off donation to us, and we'll use that for making movies. And also, same with our Patreon. Shout out to our Patreon supporters who are still out there as well. So yeah, all that money will ultimately be going towards creating art. So if you want to support us, links down in the description for that. I had 3 auditions. And the first one, so one of them, I'm not sure if I mentioned it last episode or not, but it was it paid $26,500 if I got it. It was, I had to play an Australian. I had to be like, yeah, I'm Australian, dickhead.
Well, that is one of your specialties.
That is one of my specialties. Talking like a dickhead.
The only accent you can do. But it's good though. It's good.
It's solid. Solid accent. Drongo.
Because you lived in Australia.
I did live in Australia for a couple of years. But also one of my jobs involves watching a lot of Australian television. Mm-hmm. So for the last 20 years, I've had to listen to and watch a lot of Australian television. And so as a result, you inevitably pick up the accent, a little bit. But I did live there for a couple of years, and that gave me the base. But yeah, anyway, so I haven't heard back from them. I have to assume I didn't get it. So, but that would have been nice. $26,500 for a commercial that would only have played in Australia. It wouldn't have even played over here, which for those people out there who are not actors, they might think, well, why would you want it to not play in the country where you live? Well, it turns out that that's not actually what actors want. I mean, I kind of want it. I don't mind if people recognize me from an ad, but generally speaking, actors don't want to be recognized as the person from a commercial because it affects your ability to get a juicy role on a great movie or a great TV show, because they're like, do we really want that guy? He's the hemorrhoid cream guy. Do we really want him?
Do we really want Jared from Subway?
Do we want Jared? Yeah, do we really want Jared from Subway auditioning for this? Are we going to cast him? Tuna sub, backwards. So I didn't get that one, I don't think. I haven't heard anything. Then I did 2 self-tapes for Shortland Street, okay? So
self-tapes, love them.
Love them. Not really. I don't really love them. But
at least you don't have to go anywhere.
Yeah, but at least when you have to go there, you get some direction and you get some guidance in what you're supposed to do. Whereas when you do a self-tape, you're just like, hey, take this, whatever. Who gives a shit? Nobody told me what to do, so fuck it. I'll just write it myself. And then you've got to just do kind of what you think is right. But there have been many times I've had auditions in the past where I've prepared in a certain way and I've thought, oh, okay, I've read the description and I go, okay, this is what they want me to do. And I practice in a certain way. And then I show up in the audition and they go, okay, cool. So we're doing it this way. And it's something completely different. And I'm like, okay, I should have thought of that. I didn't think of that.
We're doing it the opposite way to the way you've played it.
Exactly.
The way you played, prepared, and planned and thought about this character. We want the exact polar opposite.
Yes. Well, the difference is that with a self-tape, you never get that correction. With an actual in-person audition, you get the chance to be corrected, right? Because you go in there and they go, no, we want it this way. So you end up doing it differently. Whereas with a self-tape, you just do it the way that you originally planned it. You know? And so So anyway, self-tapes, 2 self-tapes. The first was a general self-tape, it's not for a specific character. It's for a role that has already been cast, and it's kind of just to show them what you can do. And I was just about to send that in. In fact, I did send it in. I sent it in to my agent, and on the same day, they emailed me and said, hey, you've been requested for a specific character on the show. Can you do a self-tape? And so I just finished a self-tape. I just shot it, learnt the line, shot it, edited it, got someone to come around and help me read and all that stuff. And then I sent it in, and then they wanted another one for a different character. So I had to do it all again. And then they sent in my one, the one that was for a specific character, the second one, and I did not get it. That role has been cast, and I was like, oh well, I guess we can still just send in that general one then. And my agent was like, yeah, I don't know if we need to send them that one. They were like, she said that they didn't like the character that I had chosen, as in the script. There's a bunch of different scripts you can choose, and I just had to choose one. I chose one, and I'd sent in a tape. But I think that was just her excuse, where she was like, yeah, you just sucked in that one. You just sucked shit in that one. Because like the character, it doesn't matter about what the actual character is. The character's already been cast. You shouldn't be comparing me to the character that already exists. You should be looking at this fresh tape and just being like, cool, so this is just somebody. The actual character doesn't really matter, because you have to pretend the character doesn't exist. But they were like, no, we just think that character didn't suit you very much. And I was like, I believe that you believe that I just did a shit job in that audition. It wasn't an awesome audition. It was usable. I thought it was worth sending in, but it wasn't like amazing. The character had to be kind of flirty. And so my flirtiness might have just been creepiness. I'm like, hi. Hi.
Hey, that is the danger when you're a 39-year-old man.
When you're a bald 39-year-old man trying to flirt. Hi. I'm here for the flirting. You look really nice today. And it's like, so maybe they just found me creepy. So anyway, long story short, didn't get any of those roles. This is the problem with being an actor, right? All of that required time, energy, perhaps to a certain extent money, and all of it was a complete and utter total waste of my time.
Only be in the things that you know are going to be made. Your own things.
Well, I think I'm still in the conversation for Shortland Street, though. I know that. The
dream lives on.
The dream lives on. I'm in the conversation. They are calling me up. They do want to see me for stuff. So it's okay. It's all progress. Charles Black, shout out to Chuck Black. He says that was creepy. My little flirtiness there. I always wonder the same thing about Chuck Black. So how many black Chucks could Chuck Black fuck if Chuck Black could fuck black Chucks? That's what I always wonder. So yeah. Why does Joanna have a spanner just like you next to her name?
Well, only you could answer that, mate.
That's weird. Anyway, so that's the latest acting update. I also have started watching All Quiet on the Western Front, the new Netflix World War I movie. Not exactly a remake of the old one, but I guess a remake. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, I'm halfway through it. It's all right. Pretty good. Good gore, good violence, and so forth. And they don't seem to shy away from kind of the realities of war. The only thing that's weird about it is it is in German and it's overdubbed in English. But just the acting's really like weird. It's kind of huge. The acting's kind of just like really over the top. Even it's not the overdubbing; it's the actual actors as well. But other than that, so far so good, and I will finish it.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. People get a lot of freedom if their acting is in another language, I feel. I mean, I think a lot of Asian cinema also has this, where the acting is very...
It's really big.
Big, yeah, and it's really over the top. And you just go, sweet.
Cool, whatever.
This is a great film about... this is a great film about... high schoolers fighting to the death. So I can't really, if they want to go over the top with it, go for it. But if that was the remake in America, which I think they haven't. They've been trying this remake for how many years?
Are you talking about the
20
remake
years Battle Royale?
Battle Royale, yeah.
If you saw that and them doing that acting, it would just be like memes and GIFs and a wall of shame and 10% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
It's just the way we are over here as Westerners.
Yeah.
We'd like to shit on our own.
Yeah.
Really like to bring people down a whole bunch of pegs for putting themselves out there and trying to do something interesting.
Especially in New Zealand.
We love it.
So it's time to open up our favorite segment, the cockroaching.
Oh, God.
So we live in a cockroach nest. We have moved into a cockroach nest, and the cockroaches have very kindly let us continue living here. And the other day, so I've got a cockroach trap in my bathroom, and it's the sticky kind. So it's like it's a piece of bait in the middle, and they walk onto it and they get stuck, and then they just starve to death. Which is actually a pretty slow way to do it.
Painful.
And horrific. This trap is on the ground, right? And a cockroach had climbed in there, full of energy, and and it was stuck there. And so I noticed him there, and I was like, well, what do? Do I throw him away? Do I throw away this whole trap? I can't spray him. If I spray him, it's going to ruin the whole trap because no cockroach is going to come next to it. What do? Do I just throw away the whole trap after it's caught one cockroach? I was like, no, I've got to obviously just leave it here and just try not to think about him suffering. How long can he survive anyway? He'll probably be dead tomorrow. So tomorrow, not dead. Okay, I go about my business, but every now and then I think back. I'm eating a sandwich and I think back. Well, what's he doing? Well, he's sitting there. I'm at work and I'm like, well, what's the cockroach doing? Oh, he's sitting there. He's just waiting to die. He's just shitting and sitting.
Yeah.
And so, day 3, day 4, day 5, and he's still there. And I'm starting to feel kind of bad. It's been like knocking on a week type thing.
Yeah, you've been torturing for a week.
I've been torturing for a week. Also, I don't have to throw away a cheap cardboard cockroach trap. I'm a monster. I'm a monster.
Absolutely.
But that's when things took a turn for the worse. Because I woke up one morning and another cockroach had, I was thinking, okay, I mean, he's been in there for a week. He hasn't had any water. He must be about to die. Rest his soul. He's about to die, but he is currently still awake and conscious. And then another cockroach climbed in. And I was like, uh-oh, what's going to happen here? Because what had happened was the first cockroach was sort of sitting there and the other one had come in and now he had gotten stuck and his face was kind of right next to the body, the side of the first cockroach. They were sitting there and I was like, well, what's going to happen when that second cockroach gets hungry? Obviously, he's going to just eat that cockroach, which is right there. He can reach it. And so I left them. I still left them for another night. I continued torturing them. Now there's 2 of them. I'm a monster.
Experiment.
And then
to see when the other would perform an act of live cannibalism on its kin.
On its kin, yeah. And so I went to sleep. I woke up in the morning. They were both still there, both still alive, hanging out. They were probably buddies. The first guy was probably happy to see the second guy. And then
it's the meme. Where they're both with the noose around their neck, and he's like, first time?
Yeah. And so I came home from work, though, that day, and now the second one, obviously, had gotten hungry, and he had basically eaten as much as he could reach of the second cockroach, which was a huge chunk. He was basically just kind of a head and shoulders, and then he had one sort of side of his body that had not been touched, and his back legs were still there, but the entire sort of chest, chest down was just gone on one side, and he had just eaten as much as he could. And the other guy, the first guy, was still alive.
Absolutely horrific.
Still alive. And the other guy the second one couldn't reach him anymore to eat him anymore. So he just sat there. Now he's just a head and shoulders who hasn't eaten in a week, hasn't had any water in a week, and he is still alive.
Did you throw it out?
Well, so what happened next was, fortunately, the next day,
this is some fucking Dharma shit right here.
This is some sadistic shit,
This is
Neville.
like some Dharma level fucking experimentation going on here.
Yeah, well, so the next day, okay, he's finally dead. But now I started feeling bad for the second one because the second one's sitting there with a full stomach. I mean, how long is he going to live for now?
2 weeks?
He's going to last for 2 weeks. What's he going to do? And so, again, I just left him. I was like, well, the trap's still working. It's still doing its job. And so I just left him for another, several days. And I was like, should I just kill him now? I mean, there's cockroaches in here. I can replace the trap. I should just kill him, right? And so I eventually was like, I should just spray him and then throw him in the bin. But then I kind of forgot to spray him. I just picked up the trap, threw him in the bin. And then he was in the bottom of the wheelie bin on a really hot sunny day, and it was all hot and miserable in there, and I'd forgotten to spray him. And so I didn't even finish him off. He had been there for a week almost as well by the time this had happened.
So now he's in the bottom of the wheelie bin.
Well, and it was a really hot day, so it was just a really extra misery at the end. I'm a monster.
Dharma level shit right there.
Well, it was all by mistake. It wasn't really. I didn't really want any of that to happen.
That's what he said too.
I
Dharma.
considered crushing it.
He's like, I wasn't planning any of this.
I was just looking for somebody who would never leave me.
I didn't expect him to die.
Yeah, Charles Black says that we should have set up a camera and done a time lapse, and you know what? That probably would have got 1 million views on YouTube.
Oh, easily.
1 million views on YouTube.
Easily.
Cockroach cannibalism.
Yeah.
That's what we'd call it.
Yeah.
Cockroach cannibalism.
Easily would have done that.
Yeah.
I mean, it is also scary that there was 2 cockroaches in your bathroom.
Oh, plus the dead one that was already in there. Oh, we get them all the time. I killed one yesterday. Big one. Looked like a mouse. It was as big as a mouse.
Yeah, well, look, to be fair, so we don't get them. Oh, I don't want to say we don't get them that often. I did take, I emptied 3 cans of cockroach spray around the house a couple of weeks ago. Which elicited 20, I think it was around 22 deaths.
Yeah.
The previous one
was 38 or something.
48.
48. Yeah.
So it was like not a great cull.
Well, it's pretty good.
But it's still 22 cockroaches.
I killed 2.
Or 25 or whatever it was.
I think I've killed 4 in the last 2 days or so.
Now, I did have a very creepy experience myself with the cockroach where I was working on my computer and it was about 2 a.m. And then I turned the light off because I was going to go to bed. But then I kept working because I was like, oh, shit, I actually forgot something. So I went back and I was just typing away and then I just hear this. And the big ones are so loud, it sounds like a mouse.
Yeah, that's exactly how I knew one was there the other day.
Yeah.
I was like, is that a mouse? And I could see it up the other end of the hallway moving, this black thing wiggling around up the end of the hall. And I was like, that's a fucking mouse. It wasn't a mouse.
Yeah. It was that was the thing. And I was like, what is that? And I was like, is that a mouse? And then I was like, no, it must be a fucking cockroach. And I turned the light on and this giant cockroach had scuttled down the wall and was like right next to my feet at my computer. And I was like, does this happen every time I turn the light off here and go to bed? How long has this guy been in here?
Yeah. No, every time. Every time. I hear a strange noise in my room sometimes as well, which I assume must be.
Yeah, I hear that. I hear
that, or
I hear noises in the walls.
Yeah, it could be something in the wall.
Not in the wall necessarily.
On the wall.
Might be on the wall, but I'm always like, what is that? Is that a cockroach in here right now?
Yeah.
But I just don't know what to. I can't like turn the light on, get up, and like nightmare fuel.
Nightmare fuel.
Pure nightmare fuel.
Or Joanna Sequire says, I did the same face, guy. The cockroach story is disgusting.
It's horrific.
Obviously, you were pulling a face during that story.
Yeah, he's Dharma.
And Nocturnal, this is pretty Dharma-esque. He says he puts them in a plastic container and then forgets about them for a week. Then he realizes he has to throw them all away because they crawl into his edit suite because it's basically a garden shed. I have seen his edit suite. It is basically a garden shed.
It is a garden shed.
Yeah. But yeah, he catches them all and puts them in a container. That's just as bad as my trap.
Well, no, because your trap had one of them eating the other while he was still alive.
Well, if you put 2 in there, they would definitely eat each other.
I suppose that's true.
They would definitely eat each other, but they probably suffocate. It probably doesn't have air holes for them. My trap has good ventilation.
Well, that's the problem with these cockroaches is they're so resilient. I think where they live.
I kicked the head off one the other day. He was climbing up the wall and I went with my foot and got him right in the head, and just his body was fine and his head was just crushed. It was like Porsche girl.
I think they live. I think their true nest is in the fence. Inside the inner fence of our driveway.
Okay.
So all along that inner fence, that's where I think, because
that's closest to the food source, so that makes sense.
Whenever I do the spray down, I just get a big long row of them all there. They keep popping out and falling out, and it's like they must be falling out of that.
So when you spray, do they come up? Do you see them live, or is it like you spray, then you come back later and they're there? Or do you spray and they start coming up?
Both, but when I killed the big 48 one, I just cut, like as soon as I started spraying, they started running.
Yeah.
Like I sprayed under the washing machine, like 3 ran out.
Yeah.
I sprayed down the side of the thing by your steps,
Yeah.
a whole bunch went out of there. I sprayed some on the wall, a bunch crawled out of there. So that's when they were sort of running for cover because there's so many of them. But then a lot of the times you don't see really any. And then just the next morning, and this is the other thing is like, I say I saw 48, I say I saw 22. That's how much I count in the morning when I get up, which is not early, and they don't stay. The birds take them away.
So do the ants. And also a bunch of them would have died in places where you just don't see them.
Exactly. So, the volume of cockroaches is really being undersold here, but I always definitely see this like row all along our sort of guttering of this thing plus the side fence. And that's where the most of them are. And yes, that's when I've come the next morning and see them all dead. So it's a real problem. It's an unsolvable problem.
Unrelated to cockroaches, I'm actually blowing up on TikTok at the moment. I received about probably 90,000 views actually in the last couple of days.
On TikTok?
On TikTok, yeah. I'm blowing up on TikTok. Go search for Harley Never Wins Ed on TikTok.
What video is that?
It was flooding related. It was just from my work, some of the videos from my work.
Of course.
Yeah, and so combined, they're up about 90,000, and one of them, the main ones, had about 75,000. And it was 4 videos.
You should have took more videos.
Well, I should have. I did take a bunch of videos, but I was also kind of working. I was kind of slaving away, brooming water out of there and all that.
Sweeping,
and mopping and all that type of thing. But yeah, you're right. I should have taken more. But I did have the good sense to shoot them in the horrific horizontal format as per the requests of TikTok and YouTube Shorts and all that shit. I should have put it on YouTube Shorts.
Oh yeah.
Whoops! I should have put it on YouTube Shorts while it was still hot news.
It'll still get views.
Yeah. It's not a great video. It's all right.
Yeah. Well, I saw some of the ones of like some people would went into like a gym where the water was like up to the level of the bench press, and they were working out and doing funny stuff. And part of me was like, yeah, this is hilarious. But the other part of me was like, this is sewage water that could actually make you seriously ill for the sake of this joke.
Yeah.
Like, there's all sorts of things.
And what was the joke?
Just that they were essentially working out in a fully flooded gym and they were just doing a workout like there was no flood.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, like, the kinds of bacteria that can be amongst that.
Yeah.
That can be getting into your different orifices for the sake of this joke.
Yeah.
I don't know, bro.
Yeah.
It's funny, but I'm not sure it's worth it.
When I was sweeping the water, inevitably, occasionally, some of it got kind of splashed up on me. And I mostly wasn't touching my face or anything like that. But I did feel a couple of little splashes on my face here and there, and I was like, this is pretty fucking disgusting. Poop. Hashtag poop water.
Yeah, Jared Murray on the live stream says,
shout out to Jared.
Reminds me of the Creepshow short with the guy in the white pristine penthouse which gets overrun with roaches. Yeah, I've seen that one, and I was like, oh God, because a lot of those were, like a majority of those at the time were real cockroaches, I believe, because this was prior to CG and stuff like that. So this actor was basically in amongst it with fucking thousands of cockroaches, and I was like, what a horrible job that I would never do. But also I was like, yeah, cockroaches are just really gross and disgusting. And now here we are.
Now here we are, living with them.
Also shout out
living in their house
to Jared, who's J-Rod, whose brand is J-Rod Visuals on Instagram. And he's over in Australia and he's creating content and he's out there in living that freelancing life now. I hope the business is going well for him. And he put out a couple of show reels of his work, and I was like, damn, he's made some incredibly good-looking stuff. I have, like in my, and I don't consider he is a legitimate director of photography, whereas I am a cameraman who operates a camera sometimes. They're not the same thing. But I was like, the level of polish and quality of this stuff is so high. It's really quite embarrassing for myself, just in terms of my level of craft. Is now, like I say, I don't proclaim to be that, but it's still like, you know, if you were to pay him to do a job and me to do a job, you'd be, or you actually paid us both to do a job, and we both turned in our job.
They would look different.
They would look very different, and people would be very unhappy with my work, like really quite unhappy. Unfortunately, though, as great as those visuals are, it's actually really the edit is what sells everything. And kind of the edit creates the illusion, regardless of what you film. If the edit is really good, you can kind of get away with not being a director of photography. But it was certainly cool to see some of his stuff. And he also, I had a podcast guest in here called Joseph Rakic or something like that. Anyway, he's a
Redditch, maybe.
Yeah, he's basically a workout health style personal trainer influencer. So he gets all his work online. He's got a social media team. He's actually moving to Dubai, and
Dubai. Dubai is the movie I produced. Dubai is the city.
And he is like, I don't know, has hundreds, like 100,000 followers, and you know, he's a millionaire, and he drives a Tesla and all that shit, or a Lambo actually, I think, not a Tesla now. But anyway, Jared and myself, Jared's actually done a bunch of work for him, and he's got some of that on his show reel. But I also was in one of those things. I can't remember whether I was holding lights for Jared or whether I was actually like an extra in the background, or both. I can't actually remember, but he got me to do a job for this guy. And this was like about, I don't know, 5 years ago, before he'd really blown up. But now he's sort of blown up, and he's really, I mean, I don't think he's being transparent about the types of supplements he takes, shall we say?
I see, yeah.
But I can't knock the hustle. And he's not like the Liver King, who was just like, yeah, bro, it's just all natural.
Yeah.
But I do think there is a danger when you see
the 9 tenets,
how good a shape he's in.
Yeah.
And then he goes, so this is what you need to do. He is, to a degree, selling you a dream that you could wind up looking like me. And the truth is, it doesn't matter what of these you do. It doesn't matter, if you eat all the right way, do all the right things, you do the exercise, you follow the plan, there's no doubt that you can make some huge improvements. But there's also absolutely no doubt that you could never look like him. Because that body is chemically enhanced in a way that is not possible naturally.
I bet he also has, to a certain extent, a genetic advantage as well.
Well, it's hard to say, because you know those additional supplements you can take can really rebalance things, and really assist you in a way that, like, and so that's the thing, is just like I sometimes look at those influencers and I'm like it's cool, and I'm sure his program is good, because he's got, like he said on the podcast, he's like, I need my program to work, because my program working sells it to other people. My best engagement is me showing a before and after transformation of these people. And I was like, yeah, that's really a good way to look at it. So he's like, so obviously I really care about the program and delivering that and it being as good as possible. But I do think it just does leave out, just in the same way that Wolverine, Hugh Jackman, looked like Wolverine. You know, it's like, and he's like, nah, it's all hard work. And it's like, yeah, is it? And unfortunately, again, there's this big mentality, you know, even The Rock, all these people, is like, you know, these are like 55-year-old men. These aren't young men, and they look like, their bodies look like young men. And it's like, okay, well, how does that happen? And it's like, it doesn't happen by, you know, having your protein shakes, your 6 egg whites, and your, like, that helps, but it doesn't stay like that. And I do think that people need to encourage the idea of being like, yes, you can get this far, but yes, of course, I do take testosterone, and I do take these things, and I do that because obviously I've got to look a certain way, and that was required of the role, and so on. And yeah, there's definitely like this kind of not said thing, and there's also like a lot of people that are like, don't, like, if you talk about my physique, this interview is over if you suggest that I am on something. We're not going there, pal. We're not going there. And I just think it's bad because, like, for people like us who are not chemically enhanced, and then women see our bodies, you know,
they
go, why don't you look like you've got the chops? Why don't you look like Wolverine the rest of the way? You know? And it's like, well, hold on a second.
It's because I'm not doing these semi-legal
I'm not
supplements.
doing tests and HGH.
Yeah. So these this testosterone. I have been reading and hearing that
TRT,
a lot of
testosterone replacement therapy.
Yeah, this, you know, so not so much for getting jacked, but more just for you know, staying kind of like horny, staying motivated, and, you know, kind of got that, you know, that motivation you have as a young man, that, you know, supposedly this sort of testosterone replacement can kind of help you to recapture that from your youth. The downside being that it does shrink your balls and that you do become less fertile, and that you're better if you're going to do it. You've got to either have your kids first, or you've got to, you know, bank a bunch of sperm. And if you bank a bunch of sperm, then you can go hard and then concentrate on your career, and you concentrate on your, you know, being a stallion in bed and all that type of thing. But, you know, it all sounds a bit, sounds a little too...
well, look,
like too much work,
a lot
right?
of
I mean,
older men are now being recommended by doctors.
Yeah.
You know,
so if you can get a supplement, if you can get a prescription from your doctor, then you're away laughing.
Now,
you still don't have to buy it from a gym.
There's just a lot of a grey area of like either being recommended it because so they go to that doctor to be recommended.
How do you even do your steroids? Do you
normally
crush them up and snort them? Do you inject them? Do you shelve them?
Like if you do it through a doctor,
it's just a pill?
Well, you can, I think, take it that way, but the most effective way is to get an injection in your ass every like month or few weeks.
I mean, I got to get my testosterone injection right in my ass.
So the problem with that also is that once you start supplementing your own testosterone, your body doesn't go, sweet, it goes, cool. Well, I don't need to be making any of that anymore. So essentially, A, that can sort of grow the amount you need. Yeah. But B, if you go, you know what? I'm feeling a bit weird from all this testosterone coursing through my veins. I'm going to give up. So I'm going to give up, and then you just become this deflated.
It doesn't work.
It doesn't, like the testosterone, flaccid. Flaccid, deflated, middle-aged man.
Infertile, middle-aged man.
Sacky.
With a lot of remorse.
Yeah. So that's the risk. But obviously, once you go past a certain point, you're like, no, look, I need this testosterone. Yeah. So... you know, we're not doctors here.
Well, there's
shrink balls that makes you infertile. Is there a downside? Says Nocturnal.
Yeah.
Well, look, that's what I'm saying. There isn't necessarily past a certain point, at least from what we know of the science. Like, you know, people like Joe Rogan and all those sort of openly talk about doing this because, you know, it's a quality of life thing.
Yeah.
And they're willing to, you know, make that exchange sort of thing.
Well, I think if you've already had the kids, then what's the big deal? You know, if you've already had the kids, then it's all good. I feel like it's all good. It's just whether or not you can afford to keep doing it for the rest of your life. And if you want to...
yeah, that's true, actually, because if you can't afford it, because I'm sure, I don't know, in America, I believe, you know, it's definitely prescribed. Over here, I'm sure it is prescribed as well. I'm not sure how that prescription has to be maintained. Or how that works, because I haven't gone in and asked. Yeah.
No, well, neither. But a YouTuber I'm following, he uses them, these testosterone supplements, and he's already gone and banked all his sperm. And the reason why he does it is not to get jacked.
It's the energy.
It's the energy and the motivation, and he wants to have that energy of youth that you kind of have when you're a bit younger, as well as he works out as well. Like he does work out as well. But he said that he needs to kind of walk the line between like he doesn't want to turn into a roid raging, psycho, and he's not looking to get big and jacked. So he's got to kind of get that just right and walk the line of where he wants to be, where he's got the motivation, he's got the energy, but he doesn't have
He's not a fucking psycho.
Yeah, he's not a psycho.
He's
jacked up on
He's
the
not, in
roids.
fact, Christian Bale in American Psycho, which is if you go too far.
Yeah.
Well, that's the other thing is obviously increased testosterone can affect your emotions in different ways, and may be totally fine. Your body sometimes get used to it, but it also might make you a more hot-headed, volatile person.
Yeah, well, they say, I read somewhere that, like bald men have more testosterone, and that the testosterone is part of what makes them go bald. And that also, obviously, hairy men as well. So hairy bald men have the ultimate amount of testosterone, I guess. So I don't know that I'm going to need more. Maybe I'm okay. Maybe I've got it all. I don't want to get any balder or any hairier. I could get balder, to be honest. If I got balder, it wouldn't bother me because I'm already bald. Like if I started losing it on the side, I guess, but that just means I don't have to shave it anymore. But, I don't want to get hairier.
No.
Be great for my beer followers, my beer lovers. The beer lovers that follow me would be happy. If any of my beer lover followers want to pay for my testosterone supplement so that I get hairier, just, link in the description. Join us on Patreon.
I just want Hugh Jackman to admit it. Just admit it. You're like 55. It's okay. It's still an amazing achievement to look that way at your age and to train to get to that point. And I'm sure it involves an incredible amount of hard work, sacrifice, and discipline that most mere mortals could not imagine. But it's almost like if you say that, you disqualify the hard work. But they have to exist hand in hand. But I'm just disappointed that he just hasn't said, yeah, guys, come on, I did it.
I just can't stop thinking about Joe Rogan's tiny little balls now.
Yeah, but that's not a side effect that's guaranteed.
No. He might be one of the lucky ones. One of the big, bald, lucky ones.
He might just have completely normal-sized balls.
He might have had really giant balls and now they're normal size.
Yeah, exactly. Also, when has anyone, like any woman, complained about the size of balls? As in, man, these balls are just not big enough for me.
Well, maybe if they're really small and they look weird.
I guess so. But even then, they're behind something else.
Yeah.
Are they really going to be analyzing it?
Yeah.
Shout out all the female listeners if they met a guy
and being like, this guy's balls are too small,
or just ridiculously small, and they're just like, nah, I'm sorry, I can't do this.
What about the opposite? Have you been like, these balls are just comically large? These are going to smother my whole face.
That's what I'm saying. I'm sure that is
a bigger problem.
Case many times. Yeah, giant balls.
This guy needs some testosterone supplements.
Big balls.
Tighten these puppies up.
Yeah, that. As that's of course.
Move to Dunedin, shrink up the balls a little.
Yeah.
All right. Well, on shrunken Dunedin balls, I'm all out of notes.
Yeah, it's time to wrap things up.
I've got to get ready for work. Got to go put sound on the telly. So So it has been fun. Please do use all the links in the description. That really helps us. Please give us a review, a rating wherever you're listening. Give us a thumbs up or a like or whatever it is. That all really helps us. And go check out Older. Go to olderfilm.com and see if you can watch Older there. Well, you can watch Older there. Go watch Older because that would really help us as well. And we will catch you on the next episode of the Guy and Harley podcast next week.
And if you're thinking about testosterone replacement therapy, talk to your doctor, ask if it's right for you, and if it is,
let us know.
Talk about your progress. Yeah, let's have a chat about it. We're all very curious. We're about to turn 40.
We can do it anonymously if you'd like to. We can not say your name on air if you want to message us and you want to go, hey, look, I've been taking the testosterone. My balls are tiny, but I feel fucking great.
I feel amazing.
So do slide into our DMs and let us know about that. Yes. So maybe that should have been the name of this episode. Tiny balls.
All right. See you later.
Good evening, Chuck Black.